Just 4 months ago, this was a bustling town of 11,000 people. Then the floods came, biblical in scale, leaving it submerged underwater and largely cut off. As we arrive in Ding Ding, there are few signs of life, just some belongings stashed in the treetops. The only protection from the waters that have inundated much of South Sudan.
So this entire town has been flooded since August, and the waters are still getting higher and higher, even though the rainy season is now over.
Hi. A group of women catch sight of us and want to talk.
Hi. Where are your homes? Have your homes been destroyed?
They survived years of vicious civil war here. But these floods may pose the greatest threat yet. They tell us their crops have been completely destroyed.
So what are you living on right now? What are you surviving on? The lilies.
Yeah.
The lilies, the water lilies.
Yeah.
Are people getting sick from the dirty water?
Many people have waterborne diseases, Masra Kasara explains. The wells were all covered, so we have to drink this water. While South Sudan is no stranger to seasonal flooding, Unity State hasn't been hit like this since the early 1960s. Scientists say the floods have become much more intense and unpredictable in recent years, in part because of global warming.
James. Hi, James.
James Loyan is one of hundreds of thousands who have been displaced. He agrees to show us what's left of his family home.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's your motorcycle.
Yes.
Nothing is left, except for his children's drawings on the walls. Since the conflict erupted, we've never had a rest, he tells us. We've been constantly running, displaced. Our children have had no relief from the dangers. Now he is forced to flee once again. The journey to the promise of dry land is long and arduous. The lucky ones travel by boat. Most swim or wade, moving slowly but purposefully through the muddy waters. Some push makeshift floats piled high with family members and possessions. We come across a group of women whose raft is stuck in the mud. The men of the family have gone to try to save their livestock. Narika tells us they left their destroyed home 4 days ago.
Have you been pushing this raft for 4 days?
Yes, they tell us. Along the way, they say their food ran out.
How old is your baby?
5 to 6 months.
5 to 6 months? Are you worried about your children?
Yes, I'm worried, she says, and that's why we keep moving. They still have several miles to push before they reach this narrow strip of dry land. According to UNICEF, some 6,000 people have now settled here, completely dependent on aid to survive.
They don't have latrine, they don't have enough food for them to eat. So
They don't have bathrooms, they don't have food.
Nothing.
And there are more people arriving every day?
people are continue doing this place and they continue coming.
You're obviously doing everything you can, but is it enough?
This is not enough, and that is the reason why we are calling for donor communities to ensure that children get to schools, children get health care, they get nutrition services. We have to make sure that we prevent them to die.
As the fetid, stagnant waters continue to rise, so do diseases like diarrhea and hepatitis E. Malnutrition in children is now at its highest level since 2013. Those who make it all the way to the state capital, Bentiu, find little sanctuary. Some of the main roads have been turned into waterways, cars replaced by canoes. Just a mile further, the ghostly remains of what was once a commercial hub.
This used to be the central shopping area in town, as you can see, completely destroyed.
According to authorities, 90% of Unity State has been impacted by these floods. Here, the effects of climate change aren't a hypothetical problem in the future, but rather a real disaster in the present.
We are fighting to block this water not to reach here.
Minister Lam Tangwar concedes local authorities were completely unprepared and are now unable to cope with the scale of the crisis.
We don't have any sufficient for survival.
How much longer can you cope with the situation as it stands?
Realistically, I can tell you frankly, we don't know. But we are just worried about the next rain because we are told the water behind me will not go now. They will not recede right now or dry up. It's going to take a while because it's deep water.
They don't have long. The next rains are expected in May, and if the current waters don't recede, the fear is that this area will be wiped off the map. Dikes are being built to try to hold back the encroaching waters. But the handful of diggers are no match for the vast flooding. Breaches are common, leaving many with no choice but to take matters into their own hands, hastily improvising protection for their endangered homes, as the waters quietly continue to rise.